Billy, I'm home, my phone starts buzzing. All of a sudden, I'm on social media, and it's like I am getting texts, emails, calls from people, and there's footage on Facebook of you playing on stage with Ringo, him announcing your name at a show in front of thousands of people. When I saw this, I just smiled at the highest level because I know the influence that Ringo had, as many of us, going back to the early Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. Tell me about that beginning and how that all came about.
Well, you know, it's funny because a lot of people to this day don't even know that I did that, because after I did it, I kind of didn't really publicize it that much, because I kind of felt like I was bragging a little too much, and I felt a little odd about it. So it was like bittersweet kind of thing. It was a great thing.
We were living in,
it was
like,
a great,
vicarious.
yeah,
It
was one of the most amazing highlights of me as a drummer. I mean, I was playing percussion, but it was a dream come true. But not only was I on stage with Ringo, I was also just as excited to be on stage with Steve Lukather and Todd Rundgren and Greg Rowley and Greg Bissonette. And Greg I didn't see Greg before that. I went on because he had his kids that week, so he was with his kids, so I didn't get to see him. So I saw him when I was on stage, and at the beginning of the video, you could see he was like, "Oh my God!" We were like, "Oh my God!" And it was an amazing feeling. It really was. And then I try not to think about it because you know you're in the moment, so you're not really thinking about it. But beforehand, when he came up, they sent somebody over and said Kazim Sultan was going to play percussion because he lives in Staten Island, so he was at that show. And then we were backstage, and I was hanging with Ringo, and we were talking, and we were fooling around. And then I wished him Happy Father's Day, and I said, "Oh, if you wanted me to come up and play, I would have played." But he goes, "Oh, Kazim beat you to it. He's going to do it." And I said, "Okay, so I'll get you next time." And I hugged him goodbye, and I left. And about not even 3 minutes later, somebody come over and said, "The boss said Kazim's going to play acoustic guitar and you're going to play percussion. Be stage left when you hear Photograph, be ready to go on." And he walked away. And I really thought I was being punked. I looked around to see if anybody was punking me, and then I turned around to Jeff Chonas, his longtime drum tech, and I said, "Really?" And he goes, "If that's what the boss said, that's what the boss said." And then I went to my seat, I watched the whole show. I only texted Maddie to tell Maddie. And then I said to Chris, my wife, I said, "Don't say a word to anybody," because I didn't think it was going to happen even until I was on the stage. And then there it was. Next thing I knew, I was on the stage playing percussion with Ringo for a little help from my friends. It was
absolute magic.
Yeah. And then he turned around at one point and went, "Ah, drummer boy!" So it was a great moment.
So in the early moments of playing drums, you're passionately involved with playing drums, and you're playing, and then here you are locally playing. Where did it start?
My band that I had, a band called Mantis back in the 70s, in 1972, we started in the neighborhood, all friends. I was the youngest. And then we just started playing block parties. At the time, block parties was the thing, and high school dances. So I was 14 years old at the time, starting to play block parties and high school dances.
And block parties, so those that may not know,
it's
where the area of that square block of an area
block was closed off. Everybody came out with tables. Everybody cooked outside. The whole community was all together.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. It was amazing times. And that went on for years. And we played every block party in every school in Brooklyn and in the tri-state area. And then when I was 15, a year later, we started going a little further, Jersey, Connecticut. And then as I got a little bit older, because I was the youngest in the band, so they used to sneak me in. Sometimes I'd have to go, play, and then I couldn't hang out. I'd just have to go, show up, play, and then I'd have to leave because I was too young. And then we went on the road, and we got signed to a small independent label, and they put out a record in Canada. It made enough, I guess, noise to label to make enough money back to put out an album. And then we put out the album. And we were doing rock at the time. We were actually a heavy rock band. We were doing Zeppelin, Queen, and we were also doing, from the beginning, we all wrote songs. So we were all into writing our own songs as well.
So you had copy stuff you're doing and original stuff, and you're rehearsing with this band, and they're local, they're friends of yours, and the momentum is going.
Yeah. And then somebody came up to us in a club. We were playing in a club, and in between sets, we were all into funk music. So we would go into Motown and we would play some funk music. And this guy came over to us and he said, I have a small independent label. Do you think you guys could come into the studio? Can you write a disco song? And we all looked at each other and, you know, 5 guys from Brooklyn, long hair, playing rock. And we were like, yeah, we could do a disco song. And we went in and we did this first record, which what we thought was disco, but it had a little bit of an edge to it because it was a little heavy. So it gave us our own sound. And then Syndromes had just came out at that time. So I was always looking for something different.
Syndromes was an electronic drum that was kind of an added-on pad
Right.
that you began to add to the drum set. And you were one of the first guys that really started to incorporate electronic drums with acoustic drums.
Yes.
That was back in the 70s. That was really ahead of its time.
Yeah, because I even, at one point, when the Lynn drum machine came out, I embraced it right away because as a songwriter, I was happy that I could program the beat and then get on the side of everybody playing with the acoustic guitar and add my parts as a songwriter and then go do the drum tracks. So I used to unscrew the microphone, top of the Shure, unscrew it, stick it right up against the bass drum, plug it into the back of the Lynn, and when the bass drum pedal would hit, it would trigger the sound from the drum machine.
It's very ahead of its time.
So, there were a couple of guys doing it, but I was doing it. And then later on, then the band had a little success. We put out an album, had 2 top 10 dance records from that album, and then we toured, we did the whole thing.
But you toured U.S., you toured through
Yeah.
Canada, through Europe.
In Europe.
I mean, you got around.
Yeah. And we had a #1 record in Italy, so we went over there, we did a bunch of TV, and everything was going great. And then we put out a second album, and we had 1 hit off of that album, and we were just about ready to cross over. Now it's 1980, disco gets a bad word. All of a sudden, disco becomes a really bad word. And I remember a review in Billboard saying, nobody told Mantis that disco was dead, so they went ahead and made a whole album. But it was a great review. Then it went on to say about how great the record was, but I just never forgot that caption.
A little catchphrase that just sat with you.
And then that was it. And then everybody was getting a little older. I was at 21 at the time, so I was the youngest. Everybody was getting a little older. Who wanted to do different types of music. We went back to playing rock for a while. We were confusing people because we were still Mantis, but now people were coming to see us and they expected to hear the dance songs. We didn't want to do the dance songs. We went back to our roots, playing rock. So it got a little confusing. And we played CBGBs at the time, right before the Mantis stuff hit in '79, when Blondie and Television and all those bands were playing in '77. And then '79 was the records in '80. And then after '80, by '81, '82, we kind of all started to go different ways. And that's when I got into studio work and I bought a set of Simmons.
Which was
Simmons
electronic
drums.
pads. This was a whole new thing at that point. You bought them and you got involved with session work, doing electronic work.
Yes. And I was one of the first guys to have them here. I saw the Thompson Twins, band from England, and I saw this guy playing these drums, and I'm like, that's a drum machine sound, but he's playing it. So I'm hearing the sound of a drum machine, but I'm seeing a live drum playing. So I did whatever I could to save my money to get these drums, and I got the Simmons at Mantis in New York, and it got me tons of session work and a little bit of a name that I had from the dance record. Some of the dance people, the DJs that were mixing and doing 12 inches at the time, buddies that were Butch Jones, engineer, who to this day still engineers my drums. He, he would have a session. Somebody would say, I need a drummer, electronics, boom, I'd have the session. If I wasn't playing, I was renting out the kit.
So that was a whole nother business that kind of came about.
Well, it was a way to me to pay for the Simmons, because at the time when they first came out, they were ridiculous. Like I could have bought a car. So that helped.
So you're doing different jingles and different, stuff throughout New York City?
Then I got into doing commercials, some movie soundtrack stuff, and just studio work, 12-inch records, a lot of 12-inch records, dance records. And then I did the Debbie Gibson record. And
Now, how did that come about when you hooked up with
that was
Debbie
through Fred Zarr. He was like the hot producer at the time. He was the keyboard player in Madonna's band, and he played all the keyboard stuff on all Madonna's early hits.
Right.
And then he started producing. And producers, what happens is they have their team. Most producers rely on their team.
Right.
And I was happily blessed to be part of his team at the time.
Nice.
Ira Siegel was on guitar. Bashiri Johnson played percussion on anything I played drums on
Great
at the
player,
time.
yeah. Great player.
And then, you know, to me, that was just another session. I was doing so many sessions at the time, and I remember going home that day and just saying, you know, my wife said, what'd you do today? I said, I don't know, some 15-year-old kid's got a major deal with Atlantic Records, and I played, you know, Simmons, and I played drums with the machine for this record. And then next thing I know, a year later, it sold 3 million copies. And then all of a sudden, it was like everybody was calling because now that was the sound.
So the industry at that point was a different industry than it is today. Yeah. And it's changed dramatically. So what have you done to, in your evolution to get to where you are now? There have been many different things that you've done now, even getting involved with Modern Drummer.
Well, that's what happened. After I did the studio work, and studio work went for a while, till about the 90s, then it started to dry up a little bit. And I was scared in a way because I didn't know what I was going to do, because I only knew about playing music. And then I was doing freelance work for Modern Drummer because I was helping with the festival. So I was the artist liaison because I knew a lot of the artists. And I became really good friends with Ron Spignati, who owned Modern Drummer, and his family. And he just took a liking to me, and I guess he saw the rapport that I had with the artist. And unfortunately, he had gotten sick. And I just had said to, I was devastated when he told me. And I just said to him, if there's anything I can do, call me anytime. If you need help at the magazine or anything that I can do, let me know. And he said, well, how are you going to do that? You're on the road all the time. You're playing all the time. How are you going to do that? And I said, well, I just had my son, Matty, at the time. He's 2-3 years old at the time. I said, I really don't want to go on the road anymore. So if there's anything that you need me for, you let me know. And he pretty much created my job for me. He took me under his wing and taught me what he knew about the business. And basically, when I got there, I started as an advertising assistant because I also knew a lot of the manufacturers. So I was on both sides of the fence, because if they needed to get in touch with an artist, they would say, oh, how are we going to get in touch with so-and-so? We need to get in touch with so-and-so. I say, oh, that's a friend of mine. I could get in touch with them. And so little by little I kept, and then from there, I got over to the editorial department, which was basically me just speaking to my friends.
Absolutely.
And then just getting it all on
transcribing it from a recording.
Getting on tape.
So it's interesting. You mentioned you were afraid before. So fear was kind of a motivating force for you to start to widen your range of how you would make an income out of this here.
Absolutely.
And this is an important message for the young kids to understand, that sometimes your initial vision of what you want, if it doesn't exactly pan out to what you want, there's a place that you can widen it up so you can still have part of that vision, but you could open up to other aspects. And obviously, you discovered another talent of yours, which was being involved with editing in the magazine, and Ron Spignati, who was a fantastic visionary at what he did.
Genius at what he did.
Which was brilliant. But he obviously saw something in you that said, boy, here's someone that really has a whole nother skill base that would be very, very helpful in the magazine business. And here you are now editing in a magazine. This is incredible.
I say to myself, I got lucky and I'm blessed, because I always feel like I am a little spiritual, and I always feel like somebody is guiding me to be where I need to be at that time. I always, I've always felt that. Yeah. It did scare me, but I always felt like it's going to work out. Yeah. It's, something will work out. Another door will open.
And it did, and you really believe in that full-heartedly. Now, you had mentioned about Matty. So Matty plays drums, produces,
my son,
writes.
Matty.
He is an amazing talent at what he's doing. And you've allowed this next generation to continue on with this.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard being his dad and being in the business. Because I'm dad, and then it's also I'm advising, I'm giving information, and when you're young, you want to do things the way you feel, is the new way of doing things. And yes, he does teach me a lot of things. A lot of the younger kids, when I interview them sometimes, I don't even tell them that I'm a player. A lot of them don't. I was with somebody the other night, and they didn't even know that I was in a band and had records out. And then they wind up telling me that they sampled some of that stuff. And I was like, oh, well, then I guess I'll be getting paid, maybe. But I don't even bring it up to some of the younger kids that I do play, because they don't care. They don't want to hear it.
But when you're doing the editing, what do you see in some of the young kids today? What are some of the qualities that you would like to let them know that you'd want more of them to understand?
They have to have the passion to want to do this. Not to do it, I always say, when they come to me and they say, I want to be rich and famous, that is the worst thing, because that's not the reason to do music. You do music because you love it. And most of us, for a lot of years, will do music making no money, but you'll still do it because you love it. It's your passion. It's what you want to do. So you have to always keep that. You always have to have that. And you can see the guys that are look the part, and then the guys that really have that passion, and you know, okay, this person's going to be around next year. This person's going to be around for a few years. This person, they may not be. They're here today and they're popular, but you may not see them in a year from now. So I hope that the younger generation just always remembers that make music because it makes you happy, and you're going to do it no matter what.
Interesting. So how can the young generation get to the magazine level? What do they need to do to get into the magazine, to get into, so they can have some notoriety? What's that step to get them to that level?
Well, the first thing a lot of times is drummers don't have publicists. Now, publicists are very important for bands. Sometimes I get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. The publicist will send out an email about the band. Sometimes I have to write back and say, who's the drummer? Now it's a drum magazine. So I know that they're sending it out to everybody, and I know that they're being paid by the company to promote the band. Drummers, they don't really promote themselves. So they need to think more about the business side of it, on how they can promote themselves. So they have to make a relationship. Send an email and say, hey, I just want to let you know. That's how I wind up turning our blogs into what we now call On the Beat, from my emails. And this has been going on now for so many years now. Before blogs were even popular, I would get an email from somebody and they say, hey, Billy, just want to let you know this is what I'm doing. And then I said to myself, you know what? This is great. Everybody should know about this. That's how the blogs came about. So you have to kind of reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. You have to reach out to, even if you're a guitar player, reach out to the people in Guitar Player magazine. If you're a bass player, reach out to the people in Bass Player magazine. Yeah. Get a rapport with these people. Start to know people. Tell them when you're playing. I still go out. I still go out to see live music. And if I see somebody that I really like, I'll go up to them, give them a card, and tell them to keep in touch. That doesn't mean they're going to be in the magazine tomorrow, but somewhere down the line, if I keep my eye on them. Eventually, I see that talent. I want everybody to know about that talent. So don't be afraid to reach out and get in touch with people. And personality is a big, big factor. Networking and how you go about meeting people and networking with people and building relationships.
So having those personality skills and those communication skills and those
important.
people skills, these are all a part of that business scope that you're talking about,
it's very
which
important.
is very, very important.
Without being overbearing, because then you have some guys that they'll call every day, and that's impossible. You know, even if they're great, it's just it's just impossible. Thank God for email now, and Facebook, because you can't speak to that many people in one day. It's impossible.
So you're getting hammered by young kids all the time.
Well, everybody, because everybody wants to be in the magazine, and everybody wants to be on the cover. So it's really hard. You know, Adam Budowski, he's great at that. He has that job of, we all talk about it, and we all have progress meetings about who's coming, and we get letters of, who's popular, so we know who. But if we're going to take a chance on someone, he'll make that final decision. I wouldn't want that job because, I would put everybody on the cover, It's like,
and I know how you are personality-wise. You're very, very loving that way. What happens now? So the band Mantis is and it's over 40 years now.
Well, we just got back together recently, last year. We never really officially broke up. 20 years ago, we got together. We did a couple of songs. We played again. We went on tour with the Tramps, and we played. But we felt like we were a parody of ourselves. We didn't really enjoy doing the old songs. We wanted to do new songs. People didn't care about the new songs. They wanted to hear the old songs. So we did that for about a year, and then we said, nah, we don't want to do this. And then we could have went to Vegas and did some of those kind of shows, but we felt like
so you had to really reinvent the band to get it what it was.
So everybody, again, went their separate ways. Everybody did different things and different projects. And now recently, last year, we got back together because it's our 40th anniversary, and Maddie's producing us, and we're doing a new album.
So check this out. Your son's producing, you're doing a new album.
And Butch is engineering as well with
How
Maddie.
fantastic. And you're at this point in your life, still pursuing the magazine the way it is, still writing editorials, still reaching hundreds of thousands of people, if not more than that, of course, through all the media that you have going on. What would you say in closing, Billy, what would you say to the next generation as far as what they should prepare themselves for in a music career?
I think they should prepare themselves for failure and learn how to accept that failure, but then get back up and move on. In my next editorial, which I don't know when this will be out, but my editorial will probably be old by then, but I speak about that. We all have to stop complaining about how bad the music business is and how horrible the music business is. Just make music. If you love to make music and play music, just do it. And you're gonna rise. If you're that good, people are gonna hear you, they're gonna come see you. You're going to be around. That's it. Just make music. Make music because it makes you happy. If it makes you happy and you're just making music, it's going to make everyone else happy. But be prepared to, because not everybody, once you get to the top, your whole thing is to get to the top. Once you get to the top, everybody knows. You can't stay at the top forever.
Right.
You just can't, no matter who. You just can't. So you have to be prepared mentally to accept that, and then maybe find a different niche like I did. I found something else to do besides that. So maybe you want to be an engineer, maybe you want to be a music teacher, you know, whatever, a film, like learn how to work a camera and film, you know, anything that could keep you creative and involved. Just do it because you have that passion to do it. But you can't expect things to just always happen. You have to work. You have to keep working, and you have to, no matter what level you get to, you have to stay at that level. It's not that easy. So you have to work at it.
So be prepared to work, be prepared to continue working, and it's so great. Open yourselves up to extremely different ideas that maybe might not have been thought about in the early parts of your career, but really kind of open up to new ideas. Well, you have done that consistently, Billy, in your career, and you continue to do that, which is amazing. You know, fantastic. On behalf of the Sessions, we thank you so much.
And I want to thank everybody at the Sessions, because I think this is a great thing. I think now you guys are carrying on the tradition and getting the word out. You've been doing amazing interviews. I mean, everybody involved in the Sessions, it's just, I'm honored to be a part of it, so it's a great thing.
Thank you so much. It's a great, great team, and we'll be a part of it tomorrow on the panel, so we look forward to seeing you up there at the university. Bring it on, Billy. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.